Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around, turn us around, turn us around. We ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. We're gonna keep on a walking, keep on a talking, we're marching till the end of days. Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. Keep on a talking, marching till the end of days. The reality of the lives of so many people infected with HIV in our city today, praying to see their T cells drop so they can at last get housing, services, and care. We've been running a campaign, a large coalition has been running a campaign to expand hospice services for all for now over a year.
Many of the people that are marching today are HIV positive. If you look around, many of them are people of color. It's sad that we didn't do more 20 years ago to prevent to prevent the spread of AIDS, particularly in communities of color. And and I think actually if we don't do things like pass the HACA for All legislation here in New York City, in 20 years we're going to have another anniversary march, and that's going to be a really sad occasion.
We ask elected officials about this issue. They point to the fact that they have increased HIV prevention efforts in New York City's shelter system. Now that's good, but what we say is that a condom is not a home. They are confused and it ain't right.
It ain't right.
The solution to homelessness is a home. Tell the city, that ain't right.
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 Healthcare. Well, in the words of the chant we've chanted for so many years, we're mad as hell and we won't take it anymore. I know if those we're about to remember were able to speak, they would thank all of you for being here today. And they would offer special thanks for the few stalwart activists who managed to keep the flame of ACT UP burning over the lean years of apathy and exhaustion. What's most galling, what's most enraging is that 20 years later, we are still fighting for the same basic human rights, health care and housing.
That's right.
More than 25 million dead worldwide. Nearly 40 million more infected. 500,000 Americans dead of HIV, and more than 1 million are infected. 150,000 infected here in New York City, where over 50,000 have already died. Me llamo Andres Velez. My name is Andrew Velez. 20 years ago, I stood at this same place for the first ACT UP demonstration, protesting the unconscionably high price of the only drug then available to treat people living with AIDS. Now we're here again, 20 years later, and still fighting the same fucking battles. High-priced drugs from greedy pharmaceutical companies, insurance companies that take as much money as possible without providing real coverage. That ain't right. And a government that still gives little more than lip service to dealing with this epidemic. How could we possibly have imagined 20 years ago that we'd have to be here again today and still with no end in sight to this plague? Our loved ones are dead because of the failure of our government to act quickly, responsibly, and compassionately. They are dead because insurance companies and pharmaceuticals have always put profits above people. This cannot be permitted to go on. ACT UP and all of those here today demand a single-payer national health care program that provides full health care for everyone. And we want it now.
Health care.